Council, if you're ready, shall we continue?
Yes.
Thank you.
Welcome back, Mr. Mbai. Before the break, you were talking to us about your arrest in Farafenni. On 27 January 1996. And how you were brought to Banjul the next day. And subsequently released. And how you felt that, all those around you are losing their heads and blaming it on you. With that fitting quote from Kipling. And you talked about how your properties were ultimately returned to you after you wrote a letter to President Jammeh, former President Jammeh. Apart from your house, where your other chattels returned?
Nothing has been returned. No, my vehicle, household furniture, not even my young son's electric kettle, which was given to him by his mother.
Good. So, but that was not the end of your process with the Jammeh government. In 2012, there was the tax commission.
At 2012, commission.
But before that,
yes, sir.
My house was allocated to Justice Yusuf.
Yes.
And on his return to Nigeria, it was allocated to Justice Itam. Who also returned to Nigeria. But left his wife, who was working at the Attorney General's chambers, who continued the occupation of the house with their children. When the house was finally returned to me, more than a month later, he had packed all the furniture. But it was not the furniture, not my furniture. My furniture, JCD later told me, he saw some soldiers coming there and loading them away. It was the Nigerian High Commission that furnished the house for their judges.
Nigerian High Commission
But the Justice Itam's wife stayed there even after the order was given that it be returned to me.
Justice Itam na soxnam nak mujé na fa dess de nam sax joxe won nañ digal ne nañ ma delo kër gi.
When she finally left,
gannaaw bu mu faré dem,
the electricity bills,
courant bi bili courant bi fa deson,
water and electricity,
ndox ak courant,
was more than $30,000.
Weesu na fanweri junne dalasi.
And now we're insisting that I would either pay it or they will restore. They disconnected the services.
Nawek nak di buntu liggéey kay bi saytu wàlli courant ak ndox ci réew mi ñu ne foog si rek ma fay nag bori courant boobu wala daal ñu dog ko.
They disconnected the water meter.
ñu dal di dog ndox mi.
And disconnected electric services from the pole.
ñu dal di dog nag courant bi ca pole ba.
It was the Judicial Secretary Jay Sow.
Judicial Secretary Jay Sow,
who insisted
moom moo dingaton
that these bills should be paid by government.
Ne nguur gi ñoo waroon a fay nag naam li bori courant boobu.
And that was how it was eventually settled.
noonu nag lañ ko mujjee woon saafara.
Then Gamtel NAWEC restored the services.
ci la NAWEC dolli indiwaat courant ak ndox.
But when I visited the premises,
waaye nag bi nga nemmeeku jee place ba.
I had to engage a carpenter.
foog si nag ma wut service yi carpenter.
To pull out the nails that were on the woodwork.
pour nag dal di génnee pont yi nga xam ne ñoom lañ daajoon.
Nails it took an amount of 5 to 5.5 kilos of nails just on the woodwork of the house.
ci tabax bi nag ni nga xam ne noonu lañ ci doon daaj daal du dem ci juróomi kilo yi pont lañ ci buddi.
I remember inviting Amadou Samba, who was just passing by.
fàttaleku naa fu ma fa fegee woon Amadou Samba mi doon romb rek.
When he visited the area, he wept, he cried.
bi mu nemmee koo place bi nag dafa jooy.
And I invited Ousmane Cissé.
woowoon naa it Ousmane Cissé.
Of Kerewan Sound.
mu Kerewan Sound.
The Alban Market.
ci marché Alban Market bi.
To take a video picture of the state of the premises.
pour mu dal di jël nag vidéo place bi naka la mel.
My kitchen was used as a generator room.
suma waañ ma mujjee gi sax place generator lañ ko defoon.
And there was a room which was used just to park a vehicle, and I could see the smoke like a coal mine.
gisoon naa fa ci benn néeg bu ndaw boo xam ne pour garer oto la wala waaye gis naa fa saxat.
It took me a long time and a lot of money to renovate the house.
jël na ma nag diir bu yàgg ak xaalis bu bari sax pour ma defaraat néeg boobu.
But on the very night the very first night when I slept there,
waaye nag guddi gu njëkk ma fanaan foofu.
I went around the house.
ma dem wër nag kër gi yëpp.
This is my property.
ne fii suma alal la.
This is my property.
suma alal la.
Which was wrongfully taken
away from me.
Yes.
In your case, Mr. Mbai, there was some judicial process.
Mr. Mbai,
For many others, it was just by dint of this decree, the properties were taken and no recourse to court. And up to today, they have not recovered their properties. In hindsight, having seen all these things that have happened, what would you say to these people?
No, what I have to say is that only President Jawara and I, whose properties have been returned, I have no explanation for the others.
Any regrets?
Regret for me?
Yes.
Regret? Any regret of what?
In everything that has happened, knowing that all those confiscations or unlawful appropriation of those properties were as a result of these decrees.
No, as a result of the findings of the commissions, which relied on the decrees.
Yes.
I took the matter to court. I filed a suit against the government, against the Attorney General. I said firstly I applied to review for a review of the commission findings. They said I have to pay half the amount, which I didn't, because I said that would amount to giving the credit of truth to a lie. Then Alaji Gabi Sose, a fellow Salum, and a great well-wisher, came to me and expressed the wish to sell even his property in Kotu to be able to pay the amount. To be able to pay the... And I politely declined with gratitude. And that would amount to giving the credit of truth to a lie. If I had paid it, it would have meant that I accepted. Which I didn't because it was not true. It was not lawful.
defuma ko nag ndax loolu duutoon dëgg.
When I took the matter to court,
bi ma yóbboo nag mbir mi ci court bi.
Justice Adio's conclusion was that his jurisdiction, the jurisdiction of the court, has been ousted by the decrees.
mooy nag li nga xam ne nii mooy jurisdiction bi mooy degré bi moo ko faroon nangu.
If it were my case for a client, I would have argued vigorously against the decision of the judge.
waaye nag bu fekkoon ne man maa taxawoon kenn nag ci mbiri court boobu damaa doon taxaw bu baax pour dingat ko.
And I would have relied on Lord Denning's judgments in that regard.
te ni kon danaa doon sukkandiku nag ci Lord Denning loi mi ci mbir moom.
I couldn't be my own lawyer, a lawyer in my own cause.
waaye mënuma nekkal suma bopp lawyer.
Any lawyer is a fool who takes himself for a client. Any lawyer is a fool.
Lawyer boo gis rek ab dof la rek bu fekkee ne mu ngi jéem a taxawul boppam ci layoam.
And it would have been very so I filed an appeal. I instructed lawyers to file a notice of appeal to the Gambia Court of Appeal.
ci kaw loolu nag ci laa d'appel nag dal di jox ndigal yenn lawyer pour ñu def ko ci Court of Appeal.
And a notice of appeal was filed.
tey tamit loolu nag ñu dal di woon ko file.
With grounds of appeal supporting the notice.
ak lii nga xam ne ni mooy appel bi nga xam ne ni dal di woon na taxawu notice boobu.
And I started to hear threats.
ci laa commencé nag di dégg ay tikku.
Firstly on Radio Gambia.
njëkk nag ci Radio Gambia.
That those who claim to be human rights activists.
di ñi nga xam ne nii nag ñoo bëgg a nekk ak human rights activists yi.
would either shut their mouth or will find themselves 6 feet deep.
benn ñu noppi wala ñu dem juróom benni sebre ci biir suuf si.
And I knew that was meant for me.
te xam naa ne loolu man maa moomoon wax jooju.
Because it was my anthem in cabinet and in council.
loolu nag suma bàkk la woon ci council bi ak cabinet bi.
To the extent that they called me the human rights attorney general.
ba mujjee gi ñu may ooyee human rights attorney general.
And I thought it better to rely on God.
ma mujjee jàpp rek ne daal baax na.
I remember taking a case in Birkama for Swedish couples, a Swedish couple.
jël nag benn case si yenn jëkkër jabar yoo xam ne ay Swedish lañ.
They bought a property in Sukuta Sanchaba.
dañ amoon nag benn kër si Sukuta Sanchaba lañ ko jëndoon.
And left with a young man to take care of it for them.
bàyyi benn waaye nag fii pour mu toppatoo leen ko.
By the time of their return the following year,
bi ñu wuñeeku si waat nag si beneen at mi.
this young man had purportedly sold the property and left on the back way.
kenn xale boobu nag dal di jaay nag kër googu dal di daw yooni back way.
They instructed me and I filed a suit against the buyer.
ci kaw loolu nag ci lañ ma jox ma ndigal pour ma kalaame loolu ci jëndkat boobu ki ko jënd.
The case was in Birkama, the High Court.
case bi nag mu ngi woon Birkama ci High Court bi.
One day,
benn bés.
a police inspector.
benn police inspector.
was at the court.
mu ngi woon ci court bi.
Asked whether I could give him a lift when coming back to Banjul.
léegi ma génne yóbbuwaale ko bu may ñëwaale Banjul.
On the way.
ci bi ñu ñëw si yoon bi.
He told me that he couldn't understand me.
ci la ma wax ne man daal mënuma la understand.
He told me in Wolof.
in Wolof ci Wolof.
Mr. Mbaye.
Mr. Mbaye.
ñu ne yow ndaanaan nga si lawyer yi.
Said you are an expert in the lawyers.
nekk nga fi attorney general.
You've been an attorney general here.
ci time Jawara.
Jawara's government.
nekk fi attorney general.
and an attorney general.
time Yaya Jammeh.
Yaya Jammeh's regime.
benn lawyer amu fi ndam loolu.
and there is no lawyer who has that right here.
yaa ngi am kër pipeline.
You have a house in Pipeline.
Pipeline moo gën a baax ci tund bi ci pour kër.
So Pipeline is the best site here for
Pipeline ku fa amul kër doo ko fa amati.
Anybody who didn't have a house in Pipeline, you will never have it again.
ñu ne sa kër rafet na de.
And they said that your house is very nice.
ne nit jógee na si taaxi koom su ñëwee sa kër xeeb taaxam mi. nit am na taaxi kaw.
Somebody has built a story building.
su jógee si këram dugal sa kër.
But when he enters to your house,
dina xeeb taaxi koom.
he look belittle to his own house.
waaw yow yaa ngi fii Birkama.
But you are here in Birkama.
indi téere loi yi yëpp.
You brought all these law books.
pour tubaab yu dëkk fële Sweden.
For those people in Sweden.
pàkk bu ñu jënd fële comme Sukuta Sanchaba.
The property they bought at Sukuta.
di wax loi bi di toj file di toj file. yow nag sa kër gi nag doo si wax dara.
And you never talk about your house.
ma ne ko.
I told him.
tubaab yi.
These these white men.
man lañ óolu.
They trust me.
man lañ óolu.
They trust in
me.
I am their lawyer because they trust me. Me, I trust in God. He laughed. And he bent down, he bowed down. And we reached at Banjul, he stepped out. That's where my belief is.
As a Muslim,
and if I see this way as a Muslim, there is no prophet of God who has never been a refugee. There is no prophet that was never evacuated from his house. Noah. He ran away.
Ibrahim.
The same, he ran away.
Moses.
Was followed by Pharaoh and he ran away. He was killed.
Muhammad Gaddayane Makkah de Medina duka Sukunda wi génn Sukunda wi be aga Medina.
Makkah for Medina.
ñi la Yàlla yónni ci doom adama yi.
These are the prophet of God. Me.
Ma jógee Sambang Wolof, a small village.
I came from Sambang Wolof, a small village.
Pour ñett fukki borom kër ak pour ñett fukki kër.
It's less than 30 compounds.
Ma fa njëkk a dugg school.
I was the first person to go to
family
school.
Bi ak ci dëkk bi.
The whole family and the whole village.
Yàlla teete ma.
And God helped me
am ndam ci suma jàng yi di ko dalee Armitage ba London University.
Good results from my schooling from Armitage.
Ama këri nijaay Banjul, ama këri baay Banjul.
I have an uncle who has a house in
Banjul. Fa am Yàlla ma ko wërsëgal te Yàlla du jeex, Yàlla du fi jóge.
The compound I have is from God and God is
Yàlla boobu rek laa wéeru.
It's only God that I trust.
Moo tax nag.
That's why.
Man suma jubluwaay ak suma ngóm ak fa ma ko sës.
My aims and my destination.
Mun naa uute keneen.
Maybe can be different from others.
Munuma layal keneen.
I cannot say for anybody.
Waaye nag xam naa ne.
And I know.
Li Yàlla wax ne dina am.
What God ordained.
Kenn mënu ko tere.
Nobody can.
Lu wax ne du am.
What he said that he will not happen.
Kenn mënut a tax mu am.
Nobody can make it happen.
Foofu la suma ngóm tollu.
That's where my trust is.
Dama mun a wax nag ne am na ñu ma ëpp ngóm mbaa man am na ñoo xam ne man maa leen ëpp ngóm waaye man suma bos laa xam.
I cannot say that some have stronger belief than me or I have stronger belief than them.
Moo tax I cannot speak for others.
This is why mu li moo tax mënuma wax pour ñeneen. Your mic, lead counsel.
Okay. The point I was trying to make, Mr. Mbai, is that all these things happened because they were enabled or permitted by the decrees. Do you regret your role in creating these decrees in view of the rights violations that were occasioned to people as a result?
Motax nak mané ndax réccu nga yow li nga amé ben wala bo xamné def nga ko ci décret yoyu nga xamné sabab na ya yelle fi nit ñi.
I disagree that I created the decree.
No.
Anduma nak ne man bok bindo na degree yoyu.
Okay, let me clarify that again then.
Let me just start.
Okay. Please go ahead.
I have quoted Hassan Diallo's memoir.
That's right.
Which is relevant to the issue of creating something.
And I would
like to read it again.
Go ahead, sir.
A significant part of the turbulence of his tenure, that's me, was associated with the establishment and operation of the Commission for the Evaluation of Assets and Properties and the Prevention of Corrupt Practices.
And this was in relation to 1982?
Yes. What I'm saying in relation to the corrupt, this, just like the commissions of inquiry.
That's
the commissions
right.
Let me finish. An institution seen largely, but erroneously, as the creation of FAFA. It's the same impression, which I will refute at all times, that I played a role in the creation of these decrees. Just as Hassan Diallo has pointed out, that the creation of the assets, properties, and prevention of the Commission for the Evaluation of Assets and Properties and the Prevention of Corrupt Practices.
Comme li nga xam ne loolu la njëkkoon na wax sànq ci gannaaw.
Was an institution seen largely but erroneously as the creation of FAFA.
Comme ni mu ko waxee woon mu
njëkk rek. The fact that I played a role or I created this was erroneous. And that's the point I want to make. You saying that I played a role in their creation is as erroneous as Asanjalo pointed out, the impression that I created the Assets Evaluation Act. Let me finish. It was he who, as Attorney General, and I've said so in my statement, as Attorney General, who introduced the proposal to the cabinet and was seen as its champion. But it was a collective cabinet responsibility. That gave birth to it.
See, with all due respect, Mr.
Yeah, no, if you want to put it to me or to put it as a fact that I played a role in the creation of the commissions and the enactment of the decrees, these decrees were enacted by the military council. And I played the role of an advisor, a chief legal advisor, and I've said in my statement that I advised them strongly against some of these things. Now, I'll never accept the suggestion that I create a role in these decrees, or I created a role in these commissions, and that I was responsible for the misery or the seizure of property of the person you have mentioned. There were other people involved, but you chose to mention the people of Banjul because that's an audience.
No, Mr. Mbai.
Yes.
Mr. Mbai.
Yes, I see the track. No. I've made my point about the decrees.
Mr. Mbai, allow me. I mentioned names. Not because I chose to mention names.
Well,
I mentioned names because those names were those that are stated in the decrees.
Yeah, there was another list where we had President Jawara, we had Kitty Jabang, we had people from the province, we had something Pakia Fofana.
I only went by those decrees that I have in front of me, yes, that were passed during your time.
Yes,
in none of those were those people you mentioned by name.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
And
yes, there are.
Okay, take them out. Yeah. I would be happy to mention them equally.
No, not to mention, but the omission is eloquent. The omission is deafening. The omission of some names is deafening. I'll just say something.
I would not have any special reason to omit them. If I had seen them in my compendium, I would have mentioned them.
Yeah, I see them in the decrees. There was a time when I saw a beautiful quote. He said, in times of crisis, I have not heard the voices of my enemies. I've only heard the deafening silence of my friends.
That's true.
I've not only heard the names of all those in the decrees, the omission of certain and the repetition of others is bounding upon something else.
No.
But I insist that I have said all that I have to say about these decrees.
Okay.
And the statement I made, I tendered it as an addition to the written statement I gave.
That is very right, Mr. Mbai. And I just want to understand that what we are doing is being done honestly and in good faith, without any hidden agenda. I have the decrees here. My responsibility is to provide to you those decrees that were passed during your time. And from what I have here...
Yes. I'm glad that they are passed during my time.
Yes.
Yes, that's the word.
Yes.
Passed during my time.
And those are the ones I showed you.
Yeah, but
there may be other decrees.
No, I see. The point is the word passed during my time is the appropriate, not created by me, where I played a role in their creation, or were enacted because of me, or I led to the establishment of this commission.
But Mr. Mbai, could you really say that you played no role at all in the creation and passage of these decrees. Would that be your testimony? Or would you accept that collectively, all of you had responsibility in the creation of these decrees by virtue of the responsibilities that you held at the time?
I said within the Office of the Attorney General and Minister of Justice was a drafting division responsible for drafting laws, decrees that the Council considered appropriate. The Attorney General would give advice where his advice was sought, but also where his advice was not sought directly, but when matters relating to law enforcement were deliberated upon in Cabinet and in Council. I said my stance had always been to advise against abuses and violations of human rights. But the Attorney General, as the chief government legal advisor, takes full responsibility for the decrees or laws introduced while he is in office, even if, as in my case, I have strongly advised against all the decrees that I was aware of and considered would be in violation of fundamental human rights.
Okay.
I think I have made my point clear.
That's right. And
but my advice was not always taken, because the conviction of the AFPRC, especially in relation to accountability, was so strongly held at the time that nothing could have stopped them but divine intervention. Let me finish. The dilemma of my role as Attorney General and Minister of Justice was a challenging one. To temper this desire of soldiers for immediate redress by way of accountability against guiding them towards an orderly transition for the restoration of a democratic government. When the soldiers overthrew the former regime, one of their principal reasons was the slow pace of national development. Naturally, the soldiers had mapped out their own way of how to address some of the fundamental issues that had affected effective and sustainable national development at the time. The decrees can perhaps be examined in the context of the trying challenges the nation had encountered and or suffered before the change of government. The soldiers and the people at large wanted accountability of state resources. Accountability is an element of respect for human rights of the wider society. The question was how to reconcile the process of accountability with due process. Then I said at the end, the soldiers believe against better advice. The soldiers believe against better advice that decrees were the most effective way of helping them achieve their objectives. They were hell-bent on running over anyone who stood in their way, and they did, Koro Sise, and many others, including my very self, and the sufferings I had to go through. The tragedy is that the initial intention they held changed once they tasted power, and they became insatiable, and the objective changed for the worst. I cannot put it better.
I indeed, and I agree with you.
Yeah,
I agreed with what you read out.
Yeah.
So the little issue here is, are you changing your position, or you're not changing your position? You're maintaining what you just read out?
I'm maintaining my position. Okay. But if you want to bring it to specific areas of naming individuals that I was responsible for the seizure of their properties, I deny that.
No, I never suggested that, Mr. Mbai. If I did come across like that, then I tender my sincere apologies.
Yes, well, thank you. Thank you for that.
I would never be as disrespectful as to make an accusation without having any basis.
Yeah, you name individual even before the break.
No, what I did was I showed that there were decrees that targeted specific individuals. Those names, I did not pluck them from the air. I read them out from the decrees.
Yes, I said my role as Attorney General have stated it clearly. Now, bringing specific individual names and painting a picture that I was the demon for their misery, that's the line I am...
No, far from it. In fact, Mr. Mbai, maybe there's a misunderstanding. What I was trying to do is to show that the legislative approach of deliberately targeting specific individuals was wrong. And I think you did agree with me that when you state categories of persons, that is fine. But when you go to name particular individuals, that is targeting, and that is wrong.
Yeah, objectively I agree. As a lawyer, as a human being.
That's right.
As a Muslim.
That's right. That was the point I was making.
But the approach of painting those things, to me, that's the point, because I've already made my statement and I made it quite clear.
But, okay, can we agree something, that there was collective responsibility?
Collective
responsibility for the creation of the decrees and for the effect it had on the rights of the people.
mbooloo la yoo xam ne ñoo toog defar luwaa yi ak li nga xam ne mooy jafe-jafe yi nga xam ne moo tegu ci ñenn ñi.
I know the effects it had on me and my efforts to fight it.
xam naa loraate gi mu tegu ci man nag ak ni nga xamee noonu laa ci def ay pas-pas pour xeex ko.
I can speak for myself.
naa waxal suma bopp.
Because as Attorney General,
waaye nag ni Attorney General.
I advise against abuses of human rights.
dama daan yedde lu aju nag ci wàllu xëtt yelleef.
The point that I was called the Human Rights Attorney General.
loolu moo tax ñu ma daan oowe Human Rights Attorney General.
There is no greater credit than that.
amul dara nag ndam bu ëpp loolu.
And that is the anthem of my rule at the time.
loolu na moo doon suma bàkk jamono bi nga xamee ne maa ngi fa woon.
The attempt to paint me as a demon. That's
no, I will never do that, Mr. Bai.
Well,
I think we have to get that clear. I did not do that. All I am trying to do is to show that these decrees were passed during their time.
Now
it's quite obvious.
Now the decrees are there. The names in the schedules are there. The language of the decrees are clear. You've mentioned the decrees.
wax nga degree bi.
I've told you my stand.
wax naa la suma taxawaay.
On these decrees.
ci mbiri degree yooyu.
What more do you want?
ak lan nga ci bugaat.
I want clarity.
Clarity beyond what I have said?
Yes, I want clarity.
If you want that clarity, you have to call every council member, you have to call the draftsman, you have to call the police, you have to call everybody.
Perhaps allow me to learn, sir. The clarity I want is with regards to your position. Because you have said two things here. In the piece that you just read out, in reliance of what Alaji Hassan Jallo has said, which is you should not take blame for these laws. It should be cabinet responsibility. So, which also by extension means that you, together with all other members of the cabinet, are responsible. It is unfair to just single you out as the person responsible. But what he said does not mean that you are not responsible. All it said is all of you are responsible. Am I right?
Hassan said it better than that.
Wow,
Remind us, please.
He said, a significant part of the turbulence of his tenure, that was my tenure as Attorney General, was associated with the establishment and operation of the Commission for the Evaluation of Assets and Properties and the Prevention of Corrupt Practices. I had said earlier, although it was my conclusion, that I said, finally, I'm aware that it is being said that I was the person who drafted most of the draconian decrees used by the AFPRC to oppress the people. I want to make it very clear for the record that I did not draft any one of those decrees. And where issues relating to the decrees arose, I always made it a point to advise against abuses and violations of human rights. For the interest of the nation, I did my best effort to guide the AFPRC, but such efforts were frustrated early on when they realized that the good deeds I was trying to achieve for the nation were against their personal interests, in particular, self-perpetuation. I accept, even at the beginning, that they genuinely did hold good intention for the nation. This did not last long, and as such, I also did not last long with them. This is my position.
I understand I understand all that.
Yeah, secondly, Hassan said, the creation, the establishment of the Commission for the Evaluation of Assets and Properties. He said, an institution seen largely but erroneously, just as these decrees and this commission.
But even at that, Mr. Mbai,
just allow me.
I think I can even disagree with Hassan, with all due respect. But because what he has said does not remove the spotlight away from you. It has put the spotlight on all of you. The essence of what he said is that it would be unfair to blame you single-handedly. The fair thing is to blame cabinet. It's cabinet responsibility. And you are part of that cabinet, so therefore it would mean that all of you members of the cabinet should be responsible.
No, Hassan said it better than that. He said an institution seen lightly but erroneously as the creation of Fafa. That's better than the way you put it.
Yes, he is probably more eloquent, but it does not change the meaning.
Rather than of the government as a whole, that it was seen erroneously. It was seen largely by members of the public, but erroneously that this was the creation of Fafa.
But even if we dissect that, we would see errors in conclusion, because Hassan did also accept that you introduced it in cabinet.
Yes.
So you were the promoter.
Yes.
So you were the creator.
No, I was not the creator. The creation would be the enactment. The enactment was by Parliament after it was signed.
But everything else before the enactment was done by you.
If you understand government by cabinet responsibility.
Yes.
If I chose to debate against it, I should have been obliged to resign as a cabinet, because cabinet acts collectively.
Precisely the point that I made earlier.
No, you see, it was not only that it was the government as a whole which was responsible. It was not only that cabinet was collectively responsible, which is the principle of democratic government. It was erroneous, as seen by many, that it was my creation. That's the point, the difference between the way I see it and the way you are approaching it.
But even in that, Mr. Jallo accepted that you are the promoter.
Yes,
of it.
But I didn't create it.
And you participated in its creation by the reason of the fact that you were part of the cabinet that made that decision.
I cannot put it more eloquent than this and the statement I have given. I don't know what you want from me.
But no, I want clarity.
Clarity, can it be more eloquent than what Jallo has said and what I have put in my statement?
Perhaps yes. Perhaps yes.
I cannot even in poetry.
I am sure with your eloquence and brilliance, you can do it. But the issue here is, Mr. Mbai, you have said two interesting things. In your statement, you said as Attorney General,
yes,
you accept responsibility.
Yes.
Okay, and that is my point.
I shared, but the Attorney General, as the Chief Government Legal Advisor, takes full responsibility for the decrees introduced while he is in office, even if, as in my case, I had strongly advised against all the decrees that I was aware of and considered would be in violation of fundamental human rights.
Do you still accept that?
This is what I've said.
Exactly. This is the point I wanted to make throughout.
I have advised against decrees that violated fundamental human rights. That's why I became different from all Attorney General as the Human Rights Attorney General.
I think...
Give credit to that label, the Human Rights Attorney General.
I think the Commission would take due notice of that.
Yeah.
And I want to believe that they would give it the value that it deserves. And my personal opinion should not even come into that. But if I were to be asked, I would probably say that I believe that that was the case. But that is neither here nor there. The important thing here is that in your statement, you have indicated that as Attorney General, you cannot escape responsibility.
I don't say I cannot escape responsibility.
You did not say that.
No, I said as the Chief Government Legal Advisor, I take full responsibility.
You take full responsibility?
Yes, yes, I take full responsibility.
And I think that is what is enough for us.
But as in my case, I had strongly advised against all the decrees that I was aware of and considered to be in violation of fundamental human rights.
But
now,
Mr. Mbai,
that is me.
I agree with that.
Don't put me in the basket as if I was with them all the time. That's why my relationship didn't last.
But Mr. Mbai.
And speaking for my successor, the casualty rate of attorney generals.
Yes.
How many of them lost their jobs?
Quite a number.
Okay, so that tells more about them than attorney generals.
Yes, indeed. But the thing is, 25 decrees were passed during your time.
ñaar fukki degree ay loi la yoo xam ne yow ci sa jamono.
25. They started at decree number 5 with your appointment. You were appointed on the 8th of August. And decree number 5. Yes, decree number 5 was, I believe, 10th of August.
Yeah, but I said in my introduction that yesterday we have established that the decrees you referred to were introduced either before I was appointed Attorney General, Minister of Justice, or within a few days after my appointment. As such, I could not have played any meaningful role in the enactment of any of those decrees. The one those were on the 10th of August. When I was there on the 8th, maybe I was not even off the ground. If you want to attach that I was I deny it. Even humanly, I could not have been appointed on the 8th, reported on the 9th, and the decrees that were passed on the 10th was created by me. So I played a role in their creation.
All I am saying, Mr. Mbai, is that these were the decrees that were passed during your time.
These decrees, the process of those, until they became decrees, must have started long before I reached that office on the 9th of...
And I have no reason to doubt that.
Good.
I have no reason to doubt that. And these are 2 decrees that were passed during that period. That is decree number 5 and decree number 6.
am na ñaari decree yoo xam ne feeñal nañ ko jamono boobu mooy decree number 5 ak decree number 6.
I could not have played a part
And of course, sorry, decree number... Yes, at decree number 6. Decree number 7 was from 20 August.
Decree number 7 moom ba ñaar fukki fan ci weeru August la commencé.
So if you count all these decrees, all the way to decree number 30 of 29 March, you were not there at this time, I believe.
No, 29 March, I was not there.
Yes. So
between the 3 days after my return from Umrah,
yes.
Together, one or the other started coming to my house, arresting me. And
so we counted.
But the letter of dismissal was dated 20 March.
20 March.
But after my return from Umrah, I was no more stable as Attorney General.
Yes. So from decree 5 to decree 29 were passed during your time.
No, decree 5 and 6, I said. You said date 10th August.
Yes. 5
and 6. When I reported for you on the 9th of August, I could not have played any role in the enactment of those decrees. Humanly, I could not have humanly.
I believe that.
Okay, so don't keep naming them as enacted during my time as Attorney General. Yes, during my time as Attorney General, but practically, impossible for me to have played any role in their enactment.
Okay, then would you say that you played a role in the enactment of from decree number 7 to decree 29?
The decrees were enacted by the council.
Decree number 7 by 29.
The decrees were enacted by the council. And my role as Attorney General, as Chief Legal Advisor, was to advise. And I did advise. I have said that I advise against any decree which violated human rights.
Let
me tell you, I didn't accept these decrees. I agreed against them. That's why I didn't last long with them. That's why I was called the Human Rights Attorney General. That's why members of the council, including Jammeh, call me Uncle Human Rights. That tells a story of my role at the time.
I think, Mr.
I wouldn't accept anything.
All that is noted.
Yeah, but if you want to pin them, you played a role, you did this, you did that. When you have had me, and the anthem that was around me, that I was fighting for human rights. And that was from the memorandum, the memorandum of understanding I signed with them. We showed my principles and why I accept to serve. That is enough for you to know my role as Attorney General at the time.
But even if we dissect that, it looks like all those lofty ideals that are contained in the memorandum were more honored in their breach than in their observance.
No, I disagree.
Well, let's take a look at it. Let's take a look at it.
You see, I think we are developing an approach which will not lead you far. Trying to throw this decrease on me for whatever agenda will not go very far.
Mr. Mbai, it is. I feel sad that you are thinking that I have an agenda. I have been very respectful and very polite to you, and I have given you all the deference that I needed to give. And I have given you every opportunity to explain everything. So let me finish, Mr. Mbai. As a very senior member of the bar, I cannot do anything beyond show you the greatest respect that anybody could be given. And I believe that my conduct here would vindicate me. I have done that to the highest level. I have a job to do. Yes. And my job is to bring out issues and give you the opportunity to respond to them. Some questions may be inconvenient, but they are by no means designed to either embarrass or to portray you in a particular light. That is not my purpose. My purpose is to bring out the issues and to give you an opportunity to respond to them. Inconvenient as they may be, it should not be seen as me having hidden agenda or nefarious plans. Far from it. I would never behave like that with regards to not just you, who I hold in very high regard, but to anybody else. Yes. I would never do that.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised that you have the highest regard for me. I'm not surprised. And I'm not surprised that you're pursuing your line the way you see it. I'm not surprised. That's what you're expected to do. But I think I have, to the best of my ability, adequately explained my role as Attorney General in relation to the decrees and all other matters. I think I have. I think I have told you that as the government chief legal advisor, as Attorney General, I take full responsibility, let me finish, take full responsibility for the decrees that were enacted during the time that I was Attorney General. But I said, even if I accept it, and even if I accept this, I said I advise against violations of human rights. I think that would be the end of the matter.
I equally thought so, Mr. Mai, that would be the end of the matter if you accept full responsibility for the decrease as Attorney General. But what I have seen is a derogation from that categoric statement. It appears as if you are also saying that you don't take responsibility. And that's why I was pursuing this argument.
No, I said it loud and clear, and I said it again and again and again. I said, but the Attorney General, as the Chief Government Legal Advisor, takes full responsibility for the decrees stroke laws introduced while he is in office, even if, as in my case, I have strongly advised against all the decrees that I was aware of and considered would be in violation of fundamental human rights. Now, it's not enough to say that I accept responsibility.
No, Mr.
The rider is, even if, when I was aware of it, I advised against violations of fundamental. That's the bit that I want you to bring in, not only limited to, as Attorney General, you take full responsibility. That's not enough. But as Attorney General, I also advise against decrees that were against fundamental human rights.
I would accept.
Okay.
I would accept that.
Then we've come to some conclusion.
Exactly, precisely. And this is the conclusion I wanted to be crystal clear in the record.
Well, it cannot be clearer than this. But if you want to go back to the decree since yesterday and to begin to name names and to say whose properties were seized and so forth, you are bringing specifics which that was not my rule.
That's inconvenient.
Not inconvenient. No, not inconvenient, because I can answer your questions.
Okay. All right. I think I should leave it at that, considering that we now have clarity on the record.
Yes. And I would like to add this statement, which I read out, to my statement.
It's already in the record, but we can annex it to your statement.
Good. Thank you very much.
That's right. Thank you very much. Now let's go back to the tax commission.
Yeah, or a paragraph before that.
You can take it if you so wish.
Yeah. After the removal of Tijan Haidara, as Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Mr. Amadou Samba called me on the telephone from London.
Mr. Amadou Samba called me on the telephone from London.
The President Yaya Jammeh was again offering me to be the next Attorney General and Minister of Justice. He pleaded with me to accept. And although I agreed that there was no greater honor to hold such an important office in one's country 3 times in a lifetime, I refuse. I remember telling Amadou in Wolof,
when I died, you will bury me alone. But if I'm disgraced, many people will be disgraced.
That was what I concluded with him. Now, sometime later, His Lordship, the Honorable Chief Justice,
Chief Justice,
Mr. Justice A.K. Savage,
Mr. Justice A.K. Savage,
invited me to his chambers and extended President Jammeh's intention to appoint me as President of the Gambia Court of Appeal.
President Jammeh def ma President Court of Appeal.
And that the Secretary General at the time, Yaya Ili Harding, was constant on the telephone to him, emphasizing the urgency of the matter. I went to the Chief Justice's chambers.
Madam Chief Justice chamber.
Met him with one of my sons who had just been called to the bar. And that was Omar. Despite all the pleading, clearly pointed out that I was unable to accept the offer. Omar had just returned from Freetown. I explained what was going on. He said, Papa.
He said, Papa, don't make it so long.
Face Chief Justice.
Just go and face the Chief Justice. Let Yaya Jammeh call you on phone and tell you exactly what he said. And I believe that you know what to reply to him.
He was angry. He was very angry.
And to
the extent he went with me to see Justice Savage.
Justice Savage.
But being a father and an old man, I decided not to be angry. I simply refused the offer. And politely said so to the Chief Justice.
Chief Justice.
And that was the end of that matter.
I
remember even mentioning it to Alaji Basir Jawara. Mr. Mbai.
He said, Mr. Mbai.
No need for talk long on this.
Jawara
do am to you.
Jawara defna lako.
God save your life.
Yalla sawela.
Them boys are do am to you.
The boy ni soldari def nañ la ko.
Go back.
So demate.
Go die de.
Danga de.
You are now old, you are not young anymore.
Not that I was seeking his blessing
I was just to inform him because he's a mentor to me.
And
he was very blunt, and I appreciated that. That was the end of the matter. Now, tax commission.
Tax commission.
In 2012, Commission of Inquiry into Tax Evasion and other corrupt practices in the Gambia. Between 1990 and 2012,
1990 and 2012
was set up.
The
commission, at the conclusion of its inquiries, made adverse findings against me for the sum of 1,574,665 $665 is 8 butut. Just about the same figure, which was the conclusion of the Algali Commission. I instituted an appeal against the said findings in the Gambia Court of Appeal on 5 July 2012. On 17 May 2016, the Attorney General Minister of Justice considered the appeal. Considered the appeal. Munangu that the conclusions and findings against me by the Tax Commission ought not to have been made. If the proceedings continue and I won the case, that would have been great success for me. But what happened was even more eloquent a success than that. In this case, I filed a suit against the Attorney General. He came to court. I am wrong, you are right.
Who was Attorney General at the time?
Attorney General
Mama Fatima Singate. She didn't come to court personally. The lawyers who represented her in the proceedings came to court, they filed their brief and considered the appeal. And said that the findings by the Commission ought not to have been so made. The Court of Appeal accordingly set aside the said findings of the Commission.
Court of Appeal
and further order that the deed of title of my 45 Caraba Avenue property. This Caraba Avenue property has given a lot of headache to many people. They want to take it from me. Which I had deposited with the court as security for the stay of execution be returned to me, and it was. I am glad to say of all the advice findings in the commissions of inquiry on this tax evasion, only my appeal was allowed. Only my appeal was allowed. In this sense, not only that it was allowed by argument and pleadings, but it was conceded by the Attorney General. But even before the security for the stay of execution, but even before the completion of the Tax Commission inquiries, the Gambia Revenue Authority, in a series of correspondence with me, resting with their letter, the reference number dated 10th May 2012, admitted and agreed to refund me an overpayment of tax of $65,448.51 butut. I have the letter from the Gambia Revenue Authority.
We accept that. We accept your statement on that issue.
Okay.
But I have this question. Were you satisfied with that outcome? with that outcome.
The outcome of the Court of Appeal.
And the GRA.
You see, even before the commission finished their inquiries.
Bala commission bi jeexal seen gestu sax de.
Correspondence between the GRA and I.
Li nga xam ne mooy jokkoo diggante GRA ak man.
Concluded with their own letter.
Dal di woon nañu jeexal sottal na ak seen benn letter.
My tax overpayment was $65,000 a plus.
Ne
even while the tax inquiry was on.
Juróom benn fukki junne ak juróom daal jéggale naa ko sax fay naa ko lu weesu.
Were you happy with this outcome, both from GRA and from the Court of Appeal?
I have won my case. See, what it shows is that the tax commission didn't do their work. It was one of the documents I filed in my brief that, look, you are saying all this. GRA, the office responsible for this, are saying that they owe me tax, that I've overpaid them. But they ignored that. And in their report, they said, I'm a notorious tax evader.
So I take it that you are happy with the Court of Appeal decision when they conceded. You are also happy with the letter from GRA that you had overpaid.
Yes, because they have said that I owe tax for $1,500,000. And I took the matter to court, and they came back to court and said, Mr. Mbai, we are sorry, we are wrong, you are right. We are conceding your appeal. There is no greater vindication of rightness than that.
Yes.
There is no greater sense of elation in achieving justice than that.
But this was only possible because the court could be seized with jurisdiction.
You are telling me to say that water is wet?
Yes.
Water is wet.
Indeed.
I don't need to say it.
The point I am trying to make is that ouster clauses are bad.
I'm not talking about ouster clause. I'm talking about the Court of Appeal judgment in my case. I'm not talking about ouster clauses.
Yes, I am saying that you are only able to get justice in this particular instance because you had recourse to Court of Appeal.
But that's what I say. Water is wet. That is what I have just said.
Exactly.
I don't know why you are repeating it. Is there any doubt, any vagueness in this, in what I have said?
No. The point I'm trying to make is, again, that these decrees ousted that possibility for a lot of people. And that is why a lot of those people up to today could not get justice.
I had thought that we've concluded the issue about decrees. I thought that we have finished about decrees.
It is an inconvenient point.
We are now on tax commission against.
It is still a valid and an important point, Mr.
Yeah,
Bai.
but if I were a judge in a court, I would say, Mr. Late Counsel, we've covered that point. Go on to the next point.
I would say it is still very relevant.
But I'll rule that it is relevant, but you've slept on your right. Let's proceed.
On that note, perhaps we should take a break. It's time for prayers. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, Kazu, thanks very much. Thank you, Kodoke Baba. We will resume at 3 o'clock. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.